Welcome to Raw Radio.
And we're live, Gary.
Here we are again. I'm great. I'm not. I'm super tired, but that's the topic for a different day.
What a great episode this week with Felicia Spencer.
Yep. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, that we talked to somebody today or this week. I mean, that was at the top of their game, and at the top level of where they compete too in the UFC, and she made quite the impression.
Yeah, I think, if I look at this holistically, it is extremely impressive to make it to organizations like UFC or, make it to a professional level as an athlete. I think it's completely different when you are ranked number 5 in this whole organization or in the whole sport. That takes it to a very, very different level. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm curious what you think about
I'd
this.
be happy
But I, of course, you would be happy to correct me. But I do believe that that kind of success does not happen without enormous amount of commitment.
No, it's not gonna.
Yeah, to themselves, to the sport, to whatever you do, not necessarily sport, because it could be something else, but to achieve that level of success, commitment is enormous, and then sacrifices come along with it.
Right. Yeah, I think the commitment and the sacrifice are the two things that get people to that level, because you don't even have to be the most gifted in your sport or your profession, whatever you're seeking. You don't have to be the natural. You don't have to be the most gifted. I think that if you have the commitment and you're willing to make the sacrifice, that with your ability, obviously your ability has to be pretty high level. That's what's going to get you there. And we've talked a little bit. If you're going to draw a picture or paint the picture of the best basketball player in the world, it's not going to look like Michael Jordan. He didn't get where he was because he was the most gifted. He got where he was because of the hard work, the mindset, right? I mean, that's a freak. That's on the other end of the spectrum. But you can do that with just about anything. It's those people that become something that most of us can't obtain with their natural ability that puts them on that level. And I think that it's those two things, right? You got to make that commitment and you got to be willing to make those sacrifices because it's going to impact every part of your life. And, you got to be willing to do that in order to get to the top.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's even difficult for us to understand the amount of commitment and sacrifice that people like that have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And often we look at them as, unrealistic or maybe just crazy. I mean, there is a certain level of crazy to achieve that, but we are talking about Michael Jordan's, or Michael Phelps or Steve Jobs or Elon Musk's. I mean, these are the guys on a very, very top level. And here we are talking to Felicia, who's, on the top of her game.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that she succeeds all the time. It doesn't mean that the things are, what do I say? Rainbows and unicorns.
Rainbows and unicorns. I got to get a bell, and every time, ding. I listened to Travis Stevens, Olympian judo, and he talked about growing up as a teenager and never being able to participate in all those other things. Because he had the goal of getting to the Olympics and winning. And that meant that he had to do what it took. And what it takes is 100% dedication to that. You have your mini goals along the way, the competitions you need to win, the hours you need to put in. But it is on a whole nother level to make that kind of commitment and sacrifice to something. We often talk about passion. People have a passion for jujitsu. They have a passion for whatever it might be. Um, and you might be like, yeah, guys, I don't want to go out to the restaurant or the bar or whatever because I want to go train, right? Or get up early and train, whatever. That's a passion. But commitment is, um, I can't see my friends at all ever. I spend, if you're in that position and you have to work, as soon as you're done with work, you're in the gym, right? Or you're studying. It takes up your whole life, and you have to make all those sacrifices for it.
But let's be clear on this. We don't have to go to these extremes as some of these individuals that we mentioned just a moment ago. I mean, everybody can set commitments for themselves
Mm-hmm.
with simple things in life, right? And we don't have to go to these extremes. There's still sacrifices. There's this still sense of accountability that we have to hold ourselves to, right?
Yeah.
Even training jiu-jitsu, I mean, there is the commitment that you have to set for yourself, that I'm going to show up x amount of times a week, that I will practice, that I will review the videos, that I will read about it, that I will study it, right? It's not show up, check in, check out, and life is good. The success will not be the same. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, for sure. If you're just doing it for an activity, you can check in, check out. If you're just doing it for a workout and to have some fun, check in and check out by all means. But if you want to get better, and you want to be good, well, then then you have to start talking about more sacrifice and a bigger commitment. Just recently for me, I never used to take notes. Like I was doing more of the check in, check out stuff. And more recently took some notes, reviewed my notes. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, if you're not watching this on YouTube, Thomas just picked up his iPad, and it's full of notes. It's probably Fire Gary, but or Fire Ray. But I made that commitment to, just to take it's and how easy is it? Just take some notes along the way. Review your notes so that things don't go in one ear and out the other. Um, and it's already paid off. It's changed um, it's changed me on the mat a little bit, and I think doing those type of things, it'll change you in every aspect of your life.
Yeah, and it is very interesting that you noticed this, because that's actually one of the points that I have in my notes. So I wrote down before this episode, I wrote down few principles that I thought of as I was kind of processing um the episode with Felicia and what we were going to talk about here, and I wrote down kind of a principles of commitment, principle of keeping a commitment or assigning yourselves to it. One, I wrote down, make a list, but write it down.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about writing it down. One, it keeps you accountable. It's more tangible. It's been put on paper. You can't erase it in a sense. It sets the commitment much higher than you just thinking about it, right? Until I often think about it as until I write it down, it doesn't count. It doesn't matter. It's not the same. And it's been proven times and times over and over again that writing things down not only seals it in your head, but also provides that commitment to yourself. That's why journaling is so, so powerful, and which you mentioned just a moment ago. Another thing that I wrote down is set clear priorities. I mean, what's more important, hanging out with your friends or achieving the gold medal Olympics? Is
Mm-hmm.
it going for a drink or going, hanging out, or is it getting to the academy and training jiu-jitsu? Whatever the case might be, what are your priorities?
Right, and those are
And
yours. It doesn't have to be anybody
correct,
else's. It could you whatever you want to do.
correct.
It
But
doesn't matter.
often, don't you agree that often there's this saying, I don't have enough time in a day?
Oh yeah, for sure.
What's your thoughts on that? Because that directly links into priorities and commitment.
Right. Well, I think if you start planning your day out ahead of time, I know when I freewheel it the next day, like if I'm getting ready for bed, I'm going to bed and I'm like, I'll figure it out in the morning. Well, you're already a little bit behind
Mhm.
when you get up. And if I think about it the night before and I'm like, all right, I'm going to get up at X hour and I hope I'm going to have this done by, 2 hours after, and then I'll move on to this project or whatever. I tend to get a lot more accomplished. And it seems to be, writing things down or
Mhm.
planning things out, we talk to kids in the kids program a lot about reaching goals, and that's what we tell them: write it down, right? Follow through, make realistic goals,
Hmm.
and break it down. You got your giant goal. Like I said, I said I was super tired. I told my daughter we were just sitting there this morning. I said, "Hey, do me a favor. Get up, go up into the sky, stop the Earth from going around the sun, so I can take a 2-hour nap, and I won't be late for anything." And she said, "I don't think I could do that." And I asked her why, and she was like, "She's 7." She was like, "I'm not old enough to join NASA yet." But I gave her smart kid. I gave her a dumb, silly, uh, joking goal. But I think if you set realistic goals for yourself, know your limitations, they're easier to achieve too, and you're gonna be happier about it.
You know what else strikes me about the commitment as one of the main reasons why sometimes we give up on the commitments is the timeline itself. And it's like you hear, sometimes I hear, I'm going to lose some weight.
Hmm.
What does that
I
mean?
hear it every day in my head.
Yeah, well, it's very different than saying I'm going to lose 2 pounds this month. It's very different. We being very specific, setting a timeline for ourselves, right? Keeping ourselves accountable to what the goal was versus keeping it very vague. Vague will definitely not drive us towards the success simply because it's a moving target.
Yeah, yeah, you can move that goalpost anytime you want, right? And just keep pushing it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Whenever, so my weight since I was out of high school has fluctuated over the years. I know that was a long time ago, but it's gone up, it's gone down, it's gone back up. Uh, and the way that I always get it down is I make those little obtainable goals of today I'm going to do this and I'm going to eat like that. Where if I say, all right, I got a goal of losing 30 pounds, that's probably not going to happen. But if I say tomorrow I'm going to get up and go for a run and I make that part of that plan that I was talking about earlier, chances are it's going to happen. If I say, geez, it reminds me of another story today. But if I say I'm going to, this is my meal plan for tomorrow, I might be able to hit that. But the story today was Margaret went to the grocery store and came back with pizza, ice cream, chips. I was like, "Oh, come on, what are you doing to me?" But you got to make those little tiny changes. Write them down, make them realistic, make them obtainable. And you'll probably get there.
Do you think there's something to say about self-control in all of this while you setting
Oh yeah,
themselves
for
a
sure.
goals and
Yeah.
commitments?
I was talking to somebody here at the academy last night. Dan and I were talking, and we were talking about gaining weight during COVID, right? During the shutdown and all of that. And self control, get up in the morning. We don't eat breakfast. We go to work. We skip lunch. Um, you do all those other things you're supposed to do. Maybe, you work out or whatever. But then it's 10 o'clock and all that stuff that I just said my wife brought home is sitting there, and you didn't eat right all day, right? So you didn't have that self control to do the things you were supposed to. And then that devil on your shoulder is like, well, you already blew it, man. Go ahead and have some ice cream, right? Or go ahead and have a sleeve of cookies. You can demolish a sleeve of Oreos pretty quick. And yeah, so without that self control, it's not going to happen either.
Yeah, I think that commitment directly relates into self-control, and not in the sense of taking things away from yourself, but to controlling the environments that you are part of, the goals that
Hmm.
you are achieving, the milestones that you set for yourself, writing things down, keeping yourself accountable. There's this cool quote that I came across a long time ago, and I'm a quote freak, so you're gonna hear this quite a bit throughout the show. But
Don't
people,
butcher it.
no, well, I'm actually have it written down, so
Oh, there you go. Good.
I'm
I
gonna
write
read
it
it.
down.
I'm gonna read it to you. The people with the best self control are typically the ones who need to use it the least.
All right. So
So
that
essentially, it
means there's
says
no
if you
hope for me.
Wow. Never mind. You just ruined
Well,
it.
what comes first? Is there like a chicken and the egg thing there? Do
Well, I
you?
think I think what I'm taking away from this is that, if you establish this habit of self-controlling yourself on daily basis, you no longer have to control yourself in these
Right.
extremes. There's no more hill
Yeah.
and valleys. You just kind of running in
Yeah.
this
Yeah. Yeah.
efficient pattern
Yeah. I know
of
we're talking about Felicia taking away from her episode, but that takes me back to Nathan Mendelsohn talking about waves in his
Mhm,
life, right? And how he was a person that always strived for the extreme, whether it was training or whether it was partying. So he had those giant waves, and those dips down, right, are bad. And
mhm.
once he got himself more self-control, and now his waves are even keel. And yeah, I think that relates perfectly. If you have self-control and you start it now, a year from now, everything's going to be easier, right?
Yeah, and I think Felicia even was talking about similar stuff in a sense of control in her episode when she was talking about training and getting ready for these fights, and she even mentioned, turning music off and making rooms completely silent to kind of
Oh yeah,
controlling the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
environment so she can get used to things. And this is all kind of interconnecting and blending all together, but setting yourself for success is the key, right? Creating the environment that you will be the most successful, in.
Yeah,
So,
makes sense.
yeah, those are important things.
They
Important
are.
things.
All right. What do you think? Maybe wrap this one up, and because I got some chips and ice cream and pizzas to go eat.
Great. Talk about controlling things.
Hey, well, little goals. I won't eat the ice cream.
All right, Gary.
All right,
Talk
sir.
talk
Talk
to
to
you
you soon.
soon.
All right. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Raw Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.